All right, so our goal in this very first lesson is just to become acclimated with our piano or keyboard so that we know where all the different notes are. As we look at our piano, we may get overwhelmed thinking, wow, there's so many notes, this is going to be so hard, I don't know where to start. But that's what this first lesson is going to be all about. We are just going to name the notes on the piano so that we can become familiar. So lesson number 1 is just locating and naming the different notes on our piano so that when it's time to read music or play songs, we feel a lot more comfortable about where we are on the piano. So the way we name notes on the piano has to do with the first 7 letters of our English alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Now, it does not matter where we technically start, so we are not going to start with A, but don't worry about that. Don't ask why we don't start with A. It really doesn't matter on the piano, depending on what song you're playing. That note of the song it doesn't matter where A is, it doesn't matter whatever note you have to start on. We can start from anywhere in our alphabet. But for the sake of keeping things simple, we're going to start with the letter C on the piano. Now, before we find the letter C, we have to look at the black notes on our piano because that is our guide to knowing where our white notes are, where our letters are on the piano. So if we look at the black notes, you'll notice a pattern. Our black notes could either be grouped together in groups of 2, or they could be grouped together in groups of 3. And then once you see that, it'll go 2, then 3, 2, then 3, 2, then 3, and so on. Now, what we want to do is we want to find a group of 2 and a group of 3. Because right there, if we look at the white note right before the first 2 black notes, so if that's our starting point, and we go all the way to the white note after our 3 black notes, right there, that is every possible note on the piano. From the white note before the 2, all the way to the end of the white note at the end of the 3, that is every possible note. And basically the way the piano is arranged is that when we go this way on the piano, it's the exact same 12 notes, just in a higher range. And as we go this way on the piano down to the left, we're going lower, going down, and it's our same 12 notes, 7 white ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5 black ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the piano is copied and pasted with these 12 notes over and over. So first we want to be able to recognize where's our group of 2, where's our group of 3. So now that we're familiar with that, we can jump into naming the notes on our piano. So the first letter we're going to start with is the letter C. The way we find the letter C is we find a group of 2 black notes. It can be any of them, but we'll start with the one right in front of me in the middle. And the note right before that group of 2 is the note C. So there's lots of different C's on our piano. If we find another group of 2 black notes, that's also C. Another group of 2 black notes, that's also C. Down here, another group of 2 black notes, that's also C. They're just lower C's, and then as we go this way, it gets higher and higher and higher. So those are all the notes C. If I play 2 of them together, they sound great together because they're the same note, just a lower version and a higher version. So now C is our starting point. That's where we're going to start. Don't worry about A. We will get there eventually, but we're going to start on C because the piano is built around the key of C. That may not make sense now, but it will in the future. So make sure you can find C. If you need to pause the video and find C, go ahead and do that. Now, as we move to the right on the piano, this is called going up. When we go this way to the next white note, we just go in alphabetical order. So the letter after C is D. So now in between our 2 black notes, the white note there is D. So you can find all the D's on your piano by looking for groups of 2 and playing the white one in the middle. Group of 2, white one in the middle. If we play 2 D's together, they sound good together because they're the same note, just a lower version and a higher version. So now we have 2 notes. We have C, we have D. If we continue going up, we just get to the next letter in the alphabet, which is the letter E. So this is our note E. We find it by looking for 2 black notes, and it's on the right side after the 2 black notes this way. So E, 2 black notes, E. We go this way, 2 black notes, E. Feel free to pause the video if you need to find all the E's on your piano, but now we have learned 3 of our 7 letters, C, D, and E. So if you want to pause now and make sure you can find those, a little game I like to play is I like to take my finger and I like to put it on C, and I just go back and forth between C, D, and E, and then I'll stop my finger on one of those notes, and whichever one I hit, I want to name it. So I want to say that's E. That's C. So make sure you can really comfortably find C, D, and E all throughout your piano before moving on. You can count forwards, C, D, E. You can count backwards, E, D, C. all different ways we want to know that C comes before the two black ones, D comes in the middle, and E comes after. So if you want to pause and review this and practice this before moving on, feel free. There's no rush to continue. But if you're ready to continue, we're going to learn the next 4 letters because there's only 7 letters we have to learn. So that's our group of 2. C, D, and E surround the group of 2. Now as we get to the group of 3, the letter right in front of the group of 3 is F because we've just continued our order. C, D, E, F. Now we do not want to have to count from C to find F. We want to recognize F because it's in front of the 3 black keys. So F is always in front of the 3 black keys. 3 black keys, F. So go ahead and find all the Fs that you can on your piano. Those are all F. Now as we move one more higher from F, we get to the letter G. Now G is a little bit harder to distinguish because it's inside the group of 3, but inside the group of 3, you're going to see 2 white notes. So G comes right after F. It's after the first of the 3. So G, here's a group of 3. G is right after the first. 3, G is right after the first. Here's 3. G is right after the first. So there's all your G's. Now, after G, the alphabet is over. We are now back to the start of the alphabet. So after G is A. This is probably the most confusing part about the piano. Once again, a lot of times we want to ask why. Why are G and A next to each other? Unfortunately, I did not invent the musical system. It was invented over thousands of years in trying to name these notes, and this is the system they created. So a lot of times it's easier to just accept it and say, okay, I'm going to memorize it as it is, rather than questioning why. Doesn't mean you can't ask questions, but like I said, I think a lot of people when they're starting to learn piano, they overwhelm themselves by wanting to know why it's like this and how it's like this. Just focus on learning it for now, and we'll get into the whys later. So G after G is A. So once again, G and A can be quite tricky because they're both inside the 3. G comes after the first black note. A comes after the black note in the middle. So there's A. Here's 3 black notes after the middle. A. 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 So go ahead and pause the video if you need and find all the A's on your piano. And now we have one more letter to learn, which is the letter B, because B comes after A. And so B is after A. So the way we find B, I like to say that B comes in back or behind the 3 black notes. We find 3 black notes. There's B. 3 black notes. There's B. 3 black notes. B. And now we have learned every letter on the piano. Now I find that many people tend to learn C, D, and E much quicker than F, G, A, and B. And it probably has to do with the fact that we're used to seeing the letters C, D, and E in a continuous pattern. However, we're not used to seeing F, G, followed by A and B. So whatever you have to do to work on them, I like to say F is in front, B is in back, and then G and A are in the middle. So just like we did with that first game of practicing C, D, and E, you can do the same thing with F, G, A, and B. Just slide your finger across when you feel ready, stop on a note, and name it. F. B, and you could play this game on your own. G. And now we know all the letters. Now we will learn how we name the black notes in another lesson. We do not want to overwhelm ourselves early and start learning about those. They're not anything crazy. They're not anything tricky. We just give them names, but they're not different letters. They are named after the letters of our white notes. We do not need to learn more letters. We use words such as sharp and flat. But don't worry about that for this lesson. Our goal here is to go slow and make sure we're understanding each step of learning piano before moving on to the next. So your goal with this lesson is to make sure you have memorized where C, D, E are by the 2 black notes and F, G, A, and B. Now, many people, once again, overwhelm themselves by trying to learn all 7 letters at once. The lesson taught you all 7 letters at once. However, break them down into their groups. C, D, and E are by the 2 black keys. So get really comfortable with that group until you can easily find any C, E, or D on the piano. Now, when you get to the group of 3, practice those 4 letters on their own. F, G, A, B, do them backwards. B, A, G, F, do them in other orders. G, A, B, F. Any order. You should know your letters from any order. If you always have to count to find your letter, that's not good. So if someone says, where's G? I don't want you going, well, here's C, so then C, D, E, F, G. That takes too long. We have to know G from its own position. It does take time, but not as much time as you think. If you spend 1 week just practicing these letters and doing nothing else, you will have them all memorized very, very quickly. So that is all for lesson 1, and that's all I want you to focus on right now. So don't move on to lesson 2 until you feel like you have a strong grasp with these letters. So have fun practicing lesson number 1, and I'll see you when you're ready in lesson number 2.